We are fixing the nation one conversation at a time, and Fridays, every so often, we remove the mic from the studio, tunaipeleka mic kwa ground. And this time, we've brought you to an auditorium with university students, and we've brought several university students from across several universities. They'll introduce themselves and the universities that they represent, and we'll be talking about the challenges that comrades face. There's the issue of the universities funding. There's the issue of universities going on strike, or lecturers going on strike, or universities having to close because of one issue or the other, and what that does to the academic calendar, what that does to their dreams, and how that should be impacted. How can we improve this? This is why we are here. Mariam Bishar and I, we are here. So let's just get an introduction. Nani kona mic? Tuanzie pale mwisho. Introduce yourself, the university that you're from, and then we just go like that. Now, Supiani's speech, you know, and what you think about. We'll talk about how we fix the nation together.
Why are you putting a disclaimer in? My name is Haya Dennis. I represent the fraternity of the University of Nairobi, and particularly School of Law. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Wesley Masongo. I'll be happy to be specific on that. It's Masongo.
Wakiwa wengi.
All right, so I'm a student at Riara University. We're here to fix the nation.
Very good, Karibu.
Okay, my name is Victor Magutu Jasman from Kenyatta University, a media student.
My name is Haimba Simon from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, corporate communication student.
My name is Oprah Winfrey Opio, Kenyatta University, economics and statistics student.
Good morning, my name is Ruth Wamuhu. I'm a student leader in charge of gender and social welfare. I'm taking international relations and diplomacy.
A very good morning to you. My name is Gitenge. I'm a student at Strathmore University. But today, I'm representing the comrades of the Republic of Kenya.
In the wisdom of the comrades, even a blind man knows when a beautiful woman is passing. Comrades' wisdom.
Wisdom.
My name is Gishangi Gitonga. I am the Secretary General of JQuat and of the UDA Comrades Chapter.
Morning, my name is Grace Songari from the Multimedia University, a student taking software engineering.
My name is William Mayodo, a student, University of Nairobi, doing political science.
Morning, my name is Lami Nauma, student at the Kenyatta University, pursuing commerce in the School of Business. Thank you.
Hello, morning everyone. And the last man here, Ochola Joseph from the University of Nairobi, School of Law, ready to fix the nation.
Karibuni sana. Let's fix the nation together. Let's talk about the issues that affect students and, of course, the education. And Mariam, we were talking about it earlier. You can introduce the topic because unaielewa kwa kindani.
So we want to talk about, one, just find out what is happening with comrades as a whole, right? And the state of our higher education. But more so, we want to zero in on this new funding model. I know some of you are beneficiaries, if that's the word to use, of the new funding model, or at least are under it. And we want to figure out what's working, what's not working. A lot of it seems not to be working. What are bands? How do we place people into bands? How much funding do you get in what band? And how does that affect then your ability to cater for your education, to of course finance it, and then to even just live a regular, dignified life in campus, right? Every day tunasikia comrades wanainama. Why is that? Where is the issue? And if there's someone here who has benefited from the old funding model, we can help draw those contrasts. We just want to know shida iko wapi, and potentially how do we fix it? So I'll begin with, how many here are under the new funding model? That's a good like 80%, right? And the old one, I'm assuming that's everybody else, right? Aya, that's a great place to start the conversation. Walk me through, let me start with maybe Masongo. Walk me through applying for this new funding model. What does that process look like?
Okay, I am under the old funding model.
Oh, you're under the old, okay. But walk me through that as well.
The idea is simple. Once you have already finished your high school, you now make the application process through the portal, the Higher Education Fund, where you create an account, and then you do now the application whereby you give in your data, for example, which neighborhood do you come from, how many parents do you have, if you don't, then you provide evidence that you do not have parents, and then all that data is collected. And then after, they are now considered in a system called the means testing instrument that now give you a score that now determines on the 1 to 5 band where you land. After you get that scoring, then you can now proceed to apply for the help if you need help. There are students who do not need the help, but everyone has to be placed in a band. So that one is compulsory, but the help is optional. And then the help now mostly ranges between 60,000. Most of them get 60,000. And that is how the new funding model works.
That's the new one?
Yes.
You're under the old one?
Yes.
Right. Walk me through the old one now.
The old one is sort of the same, but it usually used to start earlier, as early as when you're in school. So the assumption is that in the differentiated unit cost model, everyone was placed somewhere. So everyone was sponsored equally, regardless of where you come from and where you do. So once you apply for the course that you want to take and the campus which you want to take it in, then you're given a few options, the first course, and then 3 options, and then the second and the third option for courses. Once you have already been picked now for the course, now the second application starts immediately after the release of your KCSE and after the release of the course that you're doing. And then now from there you can now apply for the help, because everyone was eligible for help application. Directly to the university. It was a dealing between the government and the university under things they used to call allocations of there's a word that they use, allocation. It's just allocation that government used to give to universities based on which courses students are taking and the number of students taking that courses. It's called capitation.
Capitation, yes.
Yes.
So if your fee could be 80 something, but government pays 50, you pay
yes.
the remaining.
So the government does not involve you whatsoever on their 50%.
Right.
They just send it directly to the university, and you have to figure out. Actually, it was 80%, 20%.
Right.
So you had to just figure out your 20%, and the university would handle the government on the 80% that the universities were supposed to get.
And this 20% could still come in and help you out.
Yes, on the 20%.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that's you are a beneficiary of the older one. Let's go to someone who's using the new one, so they can walk me through applying for this.
One thing I want to say is that after finishing our secondary education, we were allowed to apply for the funding from the government. But then, before we apply for this funding, the universities are categorized into 2. We have private universities and we have public university. When you look at it, you find that majority of the students, they apply for the public universities. The reason is, public universities, we were told we are being given help loan, and then there is this one we call government scholarship. Right. So most students would rather go for the public universities because of the 2 beneficiaries, that is help loan
and the help,
and also the scholarship, that is. And now when we reported, we were told, or from the portal, they categorize it into 2. That is a help loan. There's this one going straight to the school account. That is a tuition fee. And then there is that one we call upkeep allowances. So from this upkeep, before that, it is being categorized into bands. That is band 1 up to band 5. But then, if you've been in band 1, there is an amount that you are supposed to pay.
Right.
And then, the fact that majority of these students are coming from humble background, they are not able to get this amount and pay for their household. To use the upkeep money to pay for this school fee. Yeah, we call it household. And now it has been a challenge for comrades. We find that even this upkeep is not being disbursed in time. So the fact that like you've joined, there's no this, you've not received this money for upkeep. It means that students will not have their learning smoothly. Because how are you going to pay this money and you've not received it?
Right.
The fact that you're coming from a poor background, it means that you are not capable of paying anything. And I've interacted with some of students, even that most students, when this new funding model came, most students deferred because they were not able to pay this money and join the universities. The second thing is that this upkeep allowance, if you don't give them, surely how are they going to survive? So we are telling the government to structure, at least to see how we are going to make this thing work out. Because as comrades, we are really suffering, and if we continue like this, we don't have any hope in our future.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question on the means testing instrument and how you feel that out. So, from both sides, from during the days of the differentiated unit cost and now with the new funding model. So let's start with the new funding model, right? How do you apply for, because we were told that initially you start the application process while you're still in high school. Now, when do you start the application process? Where are you making that application process? And
Thank you for the question. The application was done after we finished high school, and it's mainly done online. You'll be asked the basic questions like, where do you live? Where do you come from? And sometimes they even ask things like, which river is closest to your home? Which primary school is closest to your home? To just get...
Is this on a form or is it on a one-on-one?
No, it's not on a one-on-one. It's all online.
So it's all online?
Yes.
It's on a form?
Yes.
Is it a standard form? Welcome back. We apologize because we had to take a quick break. We had some challenges with the audio. Ni mic kwa ground, mic ikienda kwa ground zingine inapoteza network. That's what happened. Here we have a group of university students from several universities across the country, and they're here so we can discuss the challenges of universities funding. Before we had that interruption, we were asking and seeking to understand how university students are then classified and placed into bands. The application process. So we have two cohorts in the university now, several cohorts in the universities, but there are those who are in the previous funding model, the differentiated unit cost, that were sponsored and getting help, and using part of that help then to go into paying for their fees and upkeep. Then there's a new university funding model that has a portion of it that is scholarship from government, help, loan, and what is expected to be out of pocket or household contribution towards your funding for your different course that you're taking. Now, the challenge has been on the categorization of the students into the various bands, and we're seeking to understand from those that are in university now, particularly those that are in second year, who are the first ones to benefit from this new funding model, and then those who are just getting into the first year and they're the second cohort of the funding model, what's the difference in the application? So, you started, you're in second year, right? Okay, take the mic again and take us through what you saw in the application. So your application came after you had finished with fourth form and the results had come out. That's when now you apply for funding.
Yes.
What details were you asked?
What I can remember about the application, it was online. And the questions were mainly wanted to know the occupation of the parents, your physical address, the location where you live, and there were some questions which were asked, which were to confirm that you are really near that physical address, and also some other questions included the leaders around that place and the addresses. those are some of the notable, rememberable questions from the form.
Okay. You are in the next cohort.
Yes.
What questions did you find?
They ask your names, the primary school you went to, the high school you went to, number of siblings, the school your sibling is in, what amount of money your parents earn per month, your parents' KRA PIN, the primary school near you, your location, district, sublocation. Yeah, I remember those.
So if you put in whatever figure as your parents' income, do they have a way of verifying that?
I
Are
think
there further questions?
I think they will verify through the KRA. And also, they will also ask if you have both parents, one parent, or both of your parents are deceased. Okay. And if they are, they ask you to put like a form to prove that your parents are deceased. But my question is, for example, in an area where you live, floods happened, all the documents are lost. What do they do in such a case where you cannot prove that you lost your parents?
Did anyone attach payslips, their parents' payslips, while applying?
No. I think they just use the KRA.
Okay, so I have one person here who did.
Allah, bring the mic.
Both my parents are civil servants, so I did attach the payslips. The 2024.
So, attach?
Yes, I did attach.
Okay. No one else attached payslips, right? KRA pins, yes.
Yeah. Okay, what band were you placed?
Band 5.
What's band 5?
The most expensive.
The one getting the least amount of scholarship.
Yeah. They say your parents should be earning between 100 and 20,000. Is that combined or per parent, quote unquote?
Which is not the case.
And from the household.
Most university students.
Of above 120,000, you go into band 5. And what band
most
are you?
university students are placed in band 5. Even the ones who are not well off, band 5.
Okay. And actually, to further add on that, I don't know if they are really using the data which we gave them, because I said my mother is a peasant farmer. But I wonder how a peasant farmer is able to afford a fee of band 4
What
of
course are you taking?
I'm taking corporate communication and management.
How much is your annual fee?
My annual fee is close to 198,000.
Okay. How much scholarship were you given with being in band 5?
The scholarship.
Yeah.
If I can do an estimation, it was around 50-something thousand per semester. So when you double that, the 2 semesters per semester, so that per year it comes to roughly around 100,000.
And your annual fee is 120?
No, my annual fee is close to 198.
Okay.
So about half.
So you're getting half of that as scholarship?
Yes, half of that as scholarship. And if you had we say let's combine scholarship and the loan, it covers close to 110 up, 110, 120. Okay. So the other part of 60,000 is supposed to be footed by my parents, yeah.
And you, being in band 5, what course are you taking?
I'm taking economics and statistics. I think per year it's 183,000. But the problem is we can both be in band 5, but we won't pay the same amount of fees.
For the same course?
Yeah.
In the same university?
Yeah. One person can pay maybe 37,000, another person will pay 49,000.
No. So let's start with, if you're taking the same course, the fee for that course is the same in that university,
it's the
isn't
same.
it? So what is varying here is the amount of scholarship and loan that you're getting. So
And
that
you're
now
in the
the
same
out
band.
of pocket is what is changing.
And you're in the same
You're
band.
in the same band.
Yeah.
So how much from scholarship have you gotten? Being in band 5 and taking a course that is 180,000?
183,000
What's the contribution from government?
per semester.
Yeah.
I don't know what it contributes because there is a problem in the system, but I know the amount I pay.
How much is it?
I pay 36,720. But I have a classmate who pays 49,000, and we're in the same band, and we're in the same course.
And the help is the same, or is the help different?
we can be in the same band, but one person will get 20,000. It varies also.
Who else has experienced this?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh,
we have this one.
Okay, thank you very much, Ochola Joseph, University of Nairobi. There. I'm very happy with the engagement today. I'm a beneficiary of the new funding model. I'm under the new funding model 2024 cohort. When I joined first year, that is when I came to realize that there is these things called bands, because I knew they had been introduced the previous year. So, me personally, I've been placed in band 5. Band 5 means you have to pay 70% of the total fees. Okay, the new funding model as a whole, it has two sets of different contributions. We have the scholarship, and we have okay. Let me categorize them into three. We have the scholarship, we have government loan, and then we have family contribution. So they come in three parts. Yeah. So we have the scholarship that is coming from the government, which will not be required to pay back when you are now employed. We have the loan itself, and then we have now the family contribution, and then finally we have what we call the help loan. That one that comes as an upkeep. So breaking them down, I've seen my friends trying to break them down, but I know the data with myself because I've studied in the documentation that the government gave us, that the new funding model was to use the means testing instrument, isn't it? So in the means test instrument, band 1, band 2, band 3, up to 5, they said this, that in band 1, this is the most vulnerable person. How are they going to test this vulnerability? During the time of application, they told us to enter or to support our application with certain documents which they will use to follow up, that what is the earning capacity of this household or of this family. So they said that a band 1 is a very vulnerable student whose parents are earning less than 6,000. They said 5,000 and some figures there. So the family is supposed to be accumulating to 5,000 per month. Are you getting that? So band 2. So in band 1, being that the family is earning that low, they are supposed to receive a total of 70% scholarship, and then we have 5% household contribution. Then we have 25% remaining to be a loan from the government, plus another 60,000, which is being given to them in every year as what we call upkeep loan. So upkeep loan plus that 25%, which is a loan in tuition, covering tuition fees, is what is going to pay back whenever the person is going to be in an employment level. So it crosses like that, stemming up to band 5. So
where
they have
you are now.
Where I am now. So we have band 1. I've explained about band 1. So yeah, the most vulnerable, the sons of Chakolbanas.
So are you the son of a Chakolbana?
No, I've not said that. So band 2 is extremely needy, as you explained. Extremely needy. Band 3 is needy. Band 4 and 5 are less needy. So band 5 is at least somebody whose parent is in payroll somehow.
Okay.
So
now in band 2, band 1, 70% scholarship.
70% by the government full.
Band 2, what scholarship do you get?
Band 2, 60%
yes. Scholarship from government. Band 3, what scholarship?
The scholarship is around 50. Yes,
50%.
Band 440. Then
440.
Then
5.
In band 5, they say
30% scholarship.
Yes.
Help for tuition.
Help for tuition is for band 5. It is 40,000 for the whole year. That is help. I'm talking
about
percentage. No. That's in terms of the amount.
All tuition help is 30%, right? Across, except band 1, which is higher.
Yes.
So band 2, 3, 4, 5, the help tuition aspect is 30%, is it not? Yes. And then now what also varies is the upkeep.
The upkeep, yes.
Okay. So now let's take us through how you got into band 5. What did you feel in your form?
Okay.
Having understood
the government.
What did you need to say?
Listen. So I sat down and applied according to how the documentation was stating, that you need to fill in when either of your parents is deceased or they're divorced, you have to attach a supporting document. For example, when your mom is a deceased person, like for my case, you have to attach what you call the death certificate or any other the burial permit that will show that your parent is deceased. You have to key in. You have also to support by when your parent is in a pension scheme, not a pension, but in a payroll scheme, you have to mention whoever the employer is. For example, TAC, when your parent is a TAC employer, a teacher, you have to label the TAC number. That one actually, I think, to support them. Actually, not even I think, it should support them to go and gauge that where is the family household gauging or ranging. Are you getting that? Because they said, band 5, the family must earn 120,000. So meaning when your father is a head teacher or a school principal or any ordinary or any common teacher, they're supposed to be, they can accumulate that.
For giving us your details, like what you feel, because you said.
Okay, my details. Yeah. So I placed, because my father is not in any government payroll scheme or anywhere. So you not applicable. You
so
tell them
not
because
applicable.
Yeah, because you cannot. You don't have any other
deceased parent.
Deceased parent, I placed them.
You attached
the burial certificate, something of that kind. Yes.
And then for the father, you said not applicable.
Not
because employment.
Yes. Donation
of
formal
detail.
Then the other details now concerned mine, and also continuing on parents, you have to have their KRPN, things to do with their ID really matter. You have to have the scanned document, so that the ID itself, because it is a digital world, they can trace in the government database that I think the system it is a system which can go fish the parents' details and know that this one is contributing this amount in by then NHIF. So NHIF was also used as a key till, because there was a slot where we were asked that you need to key in what amount does your parent contribute towards the NHIF by then, before it became SHASHIF. Yes.
All right. Let me ask, were you doing this at a cyber or at home? Ulikuwa wapi?
Of course, I'm a learned person. I did it in by myself.
Okay.
Comfortable.
So you went through. Nice. Anyone who did it at a cyber is a learned man. Anyone who did it at a, okay, you did it at a cyber.
Well, you about 5.
Is there anyone who did it not entirely by themselves or at someone else's, establishment, cyber kitu kama hiyo? Because sometimes you may not be sure if you've skipped a part, if you've attached every document, right? Was that the case for you? Okay, let me give her the mic.
Apparently, I think I landed in band 5 because of that. The person, they're usually in a hurry to serve very many people. So most of the details they're saying actually didn't fill. I was not asked for them, so probably that's why I landed in band 5.
In band 5.
Misinformation.
Right. Were you aware of the information that was required? By the time you were walking to that cyber, did you know anything about the application process, what you needed to?
I knew a bit, but not the entire process. Yeah, so I feel like if I knew I could apply through my phone, I would have chosen that.
Right.
Yeah.
The person at the cyber, what did they tell you? Did they tell you, mambo mimi najua, nimejazia wengi?
It took me like 5 minutes to finish the entire process.
Really?
It was very, I had all the documentation, so I remember they just asked me the high school I went. That's simple. Then my name, location, the basics.
After that,
you know the rest.
Yes.
Did you give them the documents, the copies of the documents?
Yeah, that they required.
But this is in your account.
In my
account.
Yes.
Do you log on to the portal with your account?
They log for you in. Yeah, they log.
You're using your details.
Using your details.
So the person created an account for you, and put in the details.
And told me the password. Yeah.
And then they filled out the forms for you. They submitted for you, and then they took your money.
Yeah.
And gave you back your forms, plus akamali kakaratasi ameandika password. Next.
They actually tell you the password is your phone number.
I see.
Yeah.
And if you want to change your name, that's up to you.
That's up to you.
Okay, so that could have been a reason why you ended up in band 5.
Yeah. Because I was not sensitized about the entire process.
How much did you guys know going into the application process about what would be required and how it works? Or did you learn on the go when you're on the website? Ndio unajua? Aya, let's pass him the mic.
Thank you very much. My name is Haya. I'm not in the new funding model. They are done. But the question cuts across. There's something that is peculiar that happens with students from high school. There's I don't know how to call it. Is it a bit of panic? But then there is little sensitization on things that happen in campus. So particularly on a very technical and a bit complicated because it is new. Something new has to be sensitized. So there was little sensitization for the students using the new funding model. I remember how COOPS did something good. When I was finishing my Form 4, the CEO and the staff came to our school and they told us a bit about COOPS. So we already had a clue on what we were going to apply for, how to even go through it. I think that would have been the case for the new funding model. The students would have been sensitized enough when they are still in high school.
Right.
Yeah, more so yes.
So you're saying the CEO of COOPS came to your school?
I knew CEO.
Came to your school?
Yes, she happened. Did
COOPS go to all the other schools in your sub-county?
My region was in Kisumu. I mean, my county, as I was in Kisumu Day. So it so happened that period they were in Nyanza region. And the other staff, because Kisumu is the headquarter, so CEO had to come to Kisumu, obvious. And the other remaining staff went to other schools in Nyanza region. So we interacted with COOPS one-on-one. Which year was this? This was in 2019.
Okay. 2023, did COOPS come to schools?
Not really.
Or the Ministry of Education or anyone to come and explain, mukimaliza Form 4, mutaenda ku apply?
No one did.
No one did.
Lamina, and to contribute on that, I'm in the first lot that received the new funding system. And during the application, before we applied, personally, we had this meeting in our region with the COOPS people. So we were invited and they educated us on the same, so that when we were going for the application, we didn't find the much difficulty. You could do it on your own or go to the cyber or whichever way, but we had that information. So during the application, the details that are required, you have to give your personal details, and then when it comes to the parents' details, I guess they are so specific on the details you're supposed to give, not everything like the one who is making the application.
Right.
So like for me, the details that I put in was my parents' name, the ID number, the phone number, and the occupation. Personally, I didn't see that, how much does your parent earn and everything. I didn't see it in my form. Yeah, so after you've placed all that, maybe the documents you need to attach. That is if the parent is deceased, or if you're an orphan, both parents are deceased, there are documents you have to attach. Maybe they'll use that to follow up.
What band were you placed in?
I'm in band 4.
Band 4?
Yes.
All right. Do you think that's the right band for you?
Honestly, no, because my parents, none of my parents is in the payroll, the government payroll. Yeah, look, my dad is a peasant farmer, my mom is, should I say, housewife or something? Yeah, so definitely none of them is in the payroll.
Right.
And I made all the application, gave the full details of everything, but still landed in band 4, of which the band 4 and 5, they say those are less needy. But honestly, for me, I actually should be in band 2 or band 1 or something. Yeah.
Is that's a cross-cutting theme here, right? Almost everyone is in band 5 or band 4. Is anyone in band 1?
I'm in band 2.
Band 2. All right. What did you feel in your application?
Okay, as my friend here said, you are to provide the ID, photocopy of ID of the parents, both parents if you have all of them, that is mom and dad. You are also to provide KRA PIN. So I think they were going to use this KRA PIN to know which amount of money the parents are able to earn or even to get.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Anyone whose parents didn't have a KRA PIN? No, at least everyone had. So they were able to look back. I'm trying to see the discrepancy. How come for her, hakuwa patia, attach sijui KRA PIN, etc., documents in nini? She attached pay slips. No one else attached pay slips. Are we all using the same website?
Is it the same portal?
Sorry, they're what? They're faults. Mm-hmm, they're faults in the system, yeah. Okay.
I'm Gishangi Gitonga once again. I think Wamohu, Ohanga and myself were privileged to be in the review of the new funding model committee, the national one, and we've been working on the issue since last year. And I remember last year, around August 25th, we had a student leaders meeting with the president at KICC. And I remember standing up to the president during that time and told him that the new funding model, the comrades feel that it is rushed. And I still maintain that perspective to date, because we were just speaking with my friend a few minutes ago, and we agreed that the new funding model is revolutionary. Let me explain that. The first thing is that under the DUC, the universities were going to crash. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to pay 20%. The government was supposed to pay 80%. But of course, we know with the government, since time immemorial, it rarely does what it is supposed to do, since long ago. So what usually happened is that, because I have spoken to several vice chancellors, most of them, the maximum amount they've ever received in their tenures is 67%. And it had even gotten to a point that they were getting as little as 37%. So where we were headed as a country is that under the DUC, it was in the second last cohort of the DUC. Under the DUC, the universities were slowly going under because the government was paying promises since the time of Kibaki, Uhuru. And so the current president decided that if that thing was if that thing was allowed to go on as it was, universities would have closed down. So there's one thing that those of us in the new funding model tried to understand, and even doing personal research, I realized that the DUC, the differentiated unit costing, was not sustainable because it was a payment of promises. So under the new funding model, there are 14 MTIs for application, and there is something that we are leaving out called the appeals process. In the committee, myself and Wamuhu were in the appeals process. In the appeals committee, the work stream to deal with appeals and everything around it. So the new funding model first was rushed. That one we do all agree on. It was not something that was supposed to be implemented all at once because it has a lot of technical issues. It's not, it is a revolutionary system, but I think it could have taken a little bit more time to be implemented. Yet still, in that same vein, we must agree that universities were not going to stand for long if the DUC continued, because it was a payment of promises. Still, to proceed on the same.
Comrade Wisdom, I want to interrupt you a bit. Comrade Wisdom. So we want to take a break and come back and continue this conversation. So yeah, there is a case for or against the new funding model. That's a debate. Then there is the rollout of the funding model and the challenges that it has faced. You sit in that team of, are you guys 500? That committee that was formed, very many people.
129.
Yeah. Those many people who are set up by that in that team by the president to review this thing and see how to make it work. We'll be discussing that as well, and the challenges and what those challenges then have meant to the students, especially now those of you who are here and your comrades. If you do not have sufficient money for upkeep, how is that impacting you? If your parents are not able to raise the money that they're supposed to raise from household, how is that impacting your education? We'll be back shortly. Keep it here. Mike, Iko Ground. Our conversation continues. I've got some shout out here from someone called George, who is on YouTube. And I said, I can see my fellow peer councillors there, Lamina and Oprah, representing comrades of KU. Wazito. Very good. Now, before we took the break, interrupted Comrade, who Comrade is sitting in that task force that was appointed by the president. 100 and, how many again?
29.
Yeah, there are many. I never remember the number. 129 people, which includes education experts, student leaders, people from the ministry and other sectors coming together to look at what are the bottlenecks, the teething problems, every other problem that has hampered the smooth rollout of the new university funding model. And that's what we're discussing. So just without going to the philosophy of whether this is better than the other one, so far, has your team acknowledged that there's an issue with the funding model? Has your team acknowledged that there's an issue with how people are filling in the forms and the categorization into the various bands? Yes, no?
The committee was formed because there was an issue.
Okay. Have they sat back and have you been able to understand what the issue is?
We are still in the process of the same.
What does that entail?
The process entails there's something that Grace has mentioned that I will go back to. By the fact that people did not have information of how it is being filled, the few people who seem to have the monopoly of knowledge, the cyber cafe people, took advantage, and that is why we actually have most of the issues we have. So one of the biggest issues about the new funding model is the fact that people either fill the wrong information or gave people information that was twisted.
Okay. On the back end, what does the means testing instrument look at?
The means testing instrument has, there have been 2 times that it has been used so far. So for the 2023 cohort, there were some aspects. I wish I had my phone on me. There are some things that were changed. The constant things have been 14. There has been the issue of the primary school that you attended, the secondary school you attended, whether you are sponsored or not, and attached certificates. There was the issue of whether your parents was deceased. There was the issue of cost of programs, which has actually been a real thorn in the flesh. There have been quite a number of issues. So, yes.
So, as a comrade, not now as a member of the committee, do you think the means testing instrument is fair in its assessment?
I believe that the means testing instrument is fair. The issue is how it is being implemented.
Okay. Let's hear from her.
Thank you very much. My name is Ruth again. I'm in the old funding model. And I think answering to the question, even in our old funding model, we had invisible sort of bands. Because even in the upkeep, the only constant thing was the fact that all of us used to get 80% support from government. So in a class, you will find everyone paying the same amount of school fees, so our fee structure will be similar. But when it comes to upkeep, there are those who receive 16,000, there are those who receive 20,500, and there are those who receive, I think, 28, up to 30,000 there. So I would say that the new funding model came with its challenges, and many of it came from the fact that it was rushed, just like Chief and Shah. And that is why they didn't look at the technicalities, and there's the perception that what the Presidential Working Party proposed is not what was implemented by the various agencies. Because, for instance, when you say a situation where in a class people of the same band are paying different school fees, there was also the issue of if you're supposed to pay 27,000, your fee structure reads 28,000, so you wonder where's the 1,000 extra coming from. The other issue was the cost of programs. How the new funding model allocated the cost of programs was quite fishy, and it is something that we also try to challenge the vice chancellors, because what they were using was that, for example, in a class, because you share the cost, whether you're using a laboratory or whatever. So if a class has 10 people, they will say that a class probably has 5 people, and that meant that cost per person or the cost of the program will definitely skyrocket. But one thing we looked at was now trying to find, of course the formula is quite similar, but now getting the real facts that if a class has 70 people and there's a very high possibility that we're going to get 70 people in that particular class, you should calculate the cost of, and the reason as to why I will say the cost of program was the biggest issue was a lot of another issue that came with the new funding model was the high cost of loans. So for example, if for me I will finish and probably the amount of loan will be 200 or 250,000, but for someone who is taking medicine, for instance, or architecture, dentistry, they will have to pay 2 million shillings. So, and this comes as a result of if the cost of program is maybe the someone who mentioned 198,000, if that was reduced to maybe 100,000, so it will mean the loans are going to go lower, and also the scholarship, of course, that is given according to the band that you're placed. The other issue also came in with the appeals mechanism, because this is something new, not really new, because what I noticed also with the old funding model is that if you always apply every time for subsequent funding, just in case you do not feel like getting funding in your second year, then that's okay with you. There's a time I think there was a change where people were required to give, I don't know, certificate of single parenthood. That was also a change that was made in the old funding model. Now for the new funding model, they have the appeals mechanism. And for the appeals mechanism, it has reasons for appeals. Now the challenge with the appeals mechanism was that it limited students. If you compare that to maybe what Scotland has, for instance, from what I found out is that for Scotland is quite extensive and it's more of a bot. You are able to chat with this person. I know the idea behind HELB and coming up with a new funding model was to have zero human interference, so everything is practically automated. That is why you'll find that if you give your primary school and someone who you are in the same status and you give a different primary school, things will be quite different. For example, for the Scotland one, it will give you an opportunity to also explain yourself. Just like if you've interacted with application forms from KCB, Equity, if you're looking to getting funding from them, you'll see that there's a place where they're giving an explanation. And one of the probably suggestions will be, if someone makes an appeal, it means they really are not comfortable with their band placement, then there should be an opportunity for them either to be visited, for instance, to go and verify probably their state, how much household contribution they can give. The last challenge was the allocation of the MTI. The MTI, the means testing instrument, among the 14 or close to 17 reasons that are given, not all of them carry the same weight. So for instance, if I am a female, I get a higher allocation. If, for example, the primary school is given a higher allocation because it is said that probably most people go to the schools that are near them, so there's the perception of where your primary school, where you studied, is going to determine your household. So probably that will be given a higher percentage. If, for example, your parent is deceased, for a family that is headed by a mother, single mother, you're given higher points. For the one headed by the father, you are given a bit lower points. There's no big difference, but there's still a difference. The last issue, the last issue was that the bands now have a range. So you cannot tell me someone who is at 40, between 40 and 44, someone at 40 and someone at 44, they have the same capacity. That was now another challenge. No, the last one I'm finishing. The last one I'm finishing is that the challenge with the new funding model also was the fact that simply because, let's take an example of a student taking medicine and a student taking education, for instance. Someone who is taking medicine, of course, the fee will be high. For someone who is taking education, the fee will be low. But now you and I, my child is the one who is taking medicine, very bright. He is bright, but taking education. But now you and I earn the same.
Also very bright.
Very. No, you earn 10,000, for instance, and I also earn 10,000. So simply because my child is taking medicine, they're not able to realize their dreams, because medicine is about how much? 900 or 800,000. So that is why we saw a shift of so many people withdrawing from STEM, which is quite unfortunate, because that is what we need as a country, shifting to Bachelor of Arts and Education.
Right. Is there anyone here who actually changed courses as a result of looking at the new funding model and they decided to change tact? Okay, thankfully, no.
But because we are leaders.
Take the mic.
But then because we are leaders, we've had similar situations. We've witnessed not only changing but even deferring for 2 years. For 2 years, so that they go and get themselves into economic drawing board,
right,
and come back when they are ready.
When you're ready.
Yes.
And then, of course, changing. So, yeah, maybe you had no interest in arts, you had no interest in political science, you had no interest in communication, but it's cheaper, right?
It is
so it's
cheaper.
STEM that is seeing the biggest withdrawal.
Exactly.
People aren't moving the other way around, right? Financially.
So that has been a problem. There's an issue of MTA, the measure, the means of measure. It had some variables that gauging the accuracy is a problem. Now, for example, if the variables were 8, I think I have 6 here. There's parents' background, there's gender, there's course type, there's marginalization, there's disability, there's family size and composition. So those variables really, gauging the accuracy and then you place somebody out of them is really problematic. It needs a very highly enlightened society.
Society or system?
Or
and
a system,
walk with me, because when I was listening to like all the submissions, so I was struggling to see, is the problem the system, like in itself, it's not able to place you in the correct bands? Yes. So then would the solution be that you want human interaction and you speak to a person and you tell them, this is, you know, how this is my family background, this is the income of our household, this is what my life looks like right now, this is how much I can afford to pay. Would that be better? Or is it then the system that could be fixed to be better? Because look at algorithms that we use every day in our life. Your YouTube knows you like the back of you know, like even better sometimes than you. So it can predict for you. Your Spotify knows the same thing. Your Twitter can suggest, your TikTok can suggest what you want to see. Yes. So this algorithm ideally that is using these means testing should be able to do the same. So do we fix that, or would human interaction be the better?
If for this instance, because it deals with education, it deals with the life of the people. I think human interaction will work. Why I think and putting an enforcement on the local leadership to provide that data would be more efficient, and then vis-a-vis the one we provide online. Because really, even most instances when I was growing up, when the government needed, let's say, consensus, to take consensus, they were interacting with the people to get particular data, because they want to disburse funds for development, and they want to know exactly who are people living in this particular area. So they were interacting with us. That is, I witnessed that in 2009. I witnessed that around 2019. So people were providing data, and people who are providing data were people who are in the same environment. They were not visitors. So they actually know that in my home state, I have this kind of investment or assets.
Right.
So that really gave accuracy.
Is it possible that, I don't know, I'm trying to still see the problem. Yeah, just as you go.
We have really noted a lot of issues with the system.
Right.
Allow me to offer a solution.
Okay.
Number one, I've noticed one key problem is information. So I see my friend over here filled in the entire process that will determine her life in 5 minutes. If we had more information around, I believe some of these issues could be fixed. If we had them doing what CUPS or CUSPs did around, or other universities are doing actually, most of them are private, would actually fix this menace. Number two, would actually ensure that we have a hybrid sort of kind of system where we have some human interaction and some kind of bot trying to source the information from the people. Because then we'd eliminate the issue of corruption, favorism. Because even when you go to the village, the chief might have a problem with you, and just because of that, you lack funding. So to solve that, we can
have a hybrid system where we source this information from Form 4 when they're registering for the exams, because then it's a process that they can be immersed in throughout the entire year, and by the end of it we have concrete data. You see how when we're registering for KCSE, we have the first the roll, something roll, common roll or something, where you sign, goes, comes back again, we sign, it goes, confirm the subjects, we sign again. If we can have that kind of system where we confirm this is the actual data and we make appeals easier, we can solve this problem.
That is actually one of the recommendations. Sorry, that is actually one of the recommendations we gave in the committee. So it's something we hope the government will take up.
How would the hybrid system work? Just take us through it. So, if you went and filled in, and I like the idea but I think I like the idea, and I like the use of technology. If we're a country that is so sharp and ahead technologically, why can't we use technology better to better ourselves? So you put in all this information, and first of all, there's awareness prior, right? So when you're in Form 1, you know that you're going to fill this thing, and this is the information that will be required to fill. So by the time you get into 4th form, you know this just the same way you know whatever you've learned in school. But then the system then is able to look and sift through all the information that you've given, and in some cases then pass it on to out of all these applicants, because of the answers given here, maybe we need some further interrogation, pass it on to human intervention, where then somebody calls you and calls your local chief, calls your principal of the high school, calls, you know, a village elder, calls. They're not necessarily calling you, but they're calling around to verify. True? Is that the kind of thing that you're saying?
Yes, that's precisely what I mean. Because I believe the first interaction we should have with this system should be some sort of bot where we can give organic answers from ourselves. What exactly?
Name, ID number,
exactly.
KCSE certificate.
Some kind of a chat kind of stuff.
And then asks you some questions.
Exactly. Okay. So now it has filled in that information into its database, and then now we have an actual person call and follow up when there's a problem. Because sometimes we can have this thing done and it works perfectly. So where is the need to fix a problem that's not there? Allow me to also add something. In as much as we want to fix this issue, we also had another issue with the previous funding model. And I believe this also boils down to the management of the universities. Because they can get the funds, but they still come and run back to the government. You can see how our monopolies are working, you know, and they still run back to the government for funding.
When you say they can get the funds, what do you mean?
They can get the funds from the government and from the students who are paying, and still run into financial hurdles. And
still mismanage.
Exactly. So this is an issue of management. And sometimes I feel like we need to have a proper vetting of people who are going to these offices, not a political reward. Because I feel like these are political rewards, and we're not having proper people managing these offices. Because how is a university with 10,000 students getting government funds, private universities, private student funds, still running into issues? I feel like it also boils down to a management issue.
Point made.
And we need to
They'll
fix
say
that.
it's the government that doesn't release enough funds to them, but
it's a point me back kind of situation. But really, look into yourself and find where the problem is. Because I feel this is one thing the universities need to fix first.
But there's a clarification I wanted to make about first week.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Victor from Kenyatta University. What maybe I can comment on what my friend has said about the mismanagement of funds from the universities. First, the government should not be awarding the VCs of the vice chancellors positions. It should be in a legal. It should be a legal procession that maybe can be done from another departments, from another positions that can make this procession easier. So, by the government awarding these positions, it really makes and brings down the situation. That's why you find most of the campus, most of the universities we have a poor management of the funds, poor management of the school, and such a kind of things. So I guess if the government should avoid and maybe keep a distance from engaging themselves with the universities and the management, I guess this will work out.
What's your fix for the challenge here with the funding model, the application process? What's your proposed fix?
So the challenge that we have in a new funding model, number one, let me say that the government has no. Let me support the government by coming up with this issue this idea, but the issue is implementation has the challenges. Indeed, the new funding model was a good idea, but how they implement it, that's what makes maybe challenging to maybe some comrades. You say a comrade maybe from a poor background is placed in a band 5, of which that's being an exaggeration. So we expect maybe a student from maybe from a poor background. This student should be placed in a band 1 according to your parents' occupation. But unfortunately, you find there are some students placed in band 4, band 5, where we believe these students placed in these bands are from the rich families.
Can I ask a question?
You have a question?
Yes.
Oh, all right. You wanted to clarify something. Should you clarify and then you ask? I'm going to ask and then he'll clarify.
I hope you
another jibu.
Aye.
The first question will be for those who are sitting in the committee for reviewing. I think you guys better understand what was so wrong with the old funding system that could not be repaired to enable it to continue running. One thing which was mentioned was because the universities were collapsing, or maybe the government was not honoring its pledges by paying that amount which it owed to the universities. Now the question is, when I fail to honor my responsibility, do I transfer that responsibility to another person, or do I fix myself and honor my responsibilities so that something can be able to continue? The other thing I would love to say is that this new funding model, let's look at it from a comrade perspective. It's like food priced at 100 shillings. Mi niko na 50 bob, niko na chwani kwa mfuko, I have 50 shillings. So whether you tell me the new funding model is good, this food is good, it's healthy, the point is that I cannot be able to afford it. I don't have that 100 shillings to buy it. The other thing is that these people, I guess the other thing which has really made the new funding model to continue is the feedback from the universities. Because we had a town hall sessions with one of in our school, and when the leaders were asked, not the student leaders, of course the university leaders, they were asked, is the new funding model working? Are the universities doing better? They said yes, but it's working for them, not for us. Because if you realize, last semester for us, we did examinations without even registering our units. Why? Because we had not cleared our fees. And even if we blame that the government has not cleared their part, in all honesty, it's also we've not cleared our parts and the government has not cleared. Why have you not cleared ours? Because you cannot be able to afford it. Do they go to the university records and look how many people have paid fee? You know, it's like in a restaurant when you cook food and you come to ask the customer, how's the food? Is the food okay? They tell you it's good. But do they go to the records and look at the finances? Hey, we have this deficit. This student has not paid this fee. Have we looked and seen what is the issue? Why is the student not able to pay the fee? Because nobody can have money and refuse to pay. The other thing is that the new funding model has made even people who are not needed to be needy. Allow me to explain that, because the time when the pricing was a bit fair for the courses, where let's say like our course was to cost 30,000 across, the parents who could afford that 30,000, and they say, I'll pay it. But now it has pushed their fee from 30,000 to 80,000. So because I could afford the 30,000, and now even if I have the job, I cannot afford the 80,000, I'll be forced to apply for bursary. Bursary, which is supposed to help the needy, the genuinely needy, we are forced to also when tunajiweza.
You now join the band of the needy.
We join the bandwagon of the needy. So I'd love for you guys to clarify the point of what was the biggest issue, and do you guys get the feedback from the students and the university?
Okay, that's in order. So what was wrong with the DUC? The differentiated unit costing was implemented. I cannot remember the year, but by the time the new funding model was coming into place, it had been there for like, I think 20 years, if I'm not wrong, though I need to confirm that data. So at its implementation, the number of students in university was very small. The fee that was capped per year was supposed to be 30,000 per year, not per semester. 15,000 in one semester and 15 in another. I think it was actually 8,000 or more.
I think 6.
No, like the one that was supposed to be in the DUC itself. It was the first one, the one that was there and that was supposed to be implemented was 8,000 in semester 1, 8,000 in semester 2. So what most campuses did, as the infrastructure, or as more and more people were getting into campus, the 8,000 became tuition fee. And so they increased the activity fee, the bus fee, which they do not give the students, they ask them to pay for it. There was a lot of things they increased. So the first thing that was wrong with the DUC was the fact that it is a very ancient model. It can be fixed, but as it stood, it was supposed to accommodate a much smaller number of university students. So there was need to either correct it or introduce a new system. And so now the issue with the new system is the challenges that it has. And I actually remember recommending to the president at some point to consider ensuring that the DUC is refined. So the biggest thing that was wrong with the DUC was the way it was created was for a much smaller population than the one that is currently there. Because in approximation, there are a lot of people. The clarification I wanted to make was that the hybrid system is actually in existence already in the appeals process. There's that part. And finally, the issue...
So it's in the appeals process?
Yes, it's in the appeals process.
Is it working?
It's still, it has worked for some people. I've actually interacted with people it has worked with. But it's still, the issue with the new funding model, as we have heard, is that for some people it seems to be working more than others. And still, as student leaders, we have friends who are student leaders who've been telling us that their VCs usually come to tell them, remove students in the streets and go and fight against the new funding model. But this same vice chancellors go to State House and tell the president that this thing is working. So we actually have the issue of hypocrisy, as Kaemba has placed it. The vice chancellors know that the new funding model does not favor students. So there's that issue, and there's generally the issue of bad management in Kenya. So I believe that there are a lot of issues that should be solved. The procurement, in Kenya we have budgeted corruption. We do not have like people stealing in the public. They procure something like a pen for 1,000 shillings that costs 20 shillings. So there are a lot of issues to be solved if we are actually to streamline the university sector.
There are. Sorry, you have a question? All right. I have a few too.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question. With the new funding model system, there is this first application, like me, I'm in second year, with the first lot that got into that system, right? So when we made the first application, we gave out all those food details that the second lot has done. But now with us, as we're applying again for the second year, the subsequent application, we were not giving the same details anymore. We were just confirming to them what things do we need, what's the process, like the questions we were being asked here. That is what they ask in the subsequent application. How was the application, the first application? Was it okay? Was it bad? Those kind of questions. But then, like in this semester, there's really been a delay in the disbursement and everything to do with the funding system until the university students had to go for strikes and in regards to that. But then I have a question. In the subsequent application, you're not asked to give the details that you gave in the first application, right? So how about if your parent died when maybe let me say after you made the first application? That means if you were to put the details, the same details as you did in the first year, then under the parents, you had one deceased, or maybe both, if maybe something happened, both died, you have different details for the same. That means you should be reconsidered again. The funding, the disbursement, the amount you're receiving should be different again.
So should your economic status change?
Yeah, it should
your
change.
University period?
Yes, it should change. So how do you handle that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the answers here. Okay.
Yeah, I have a response to that. When you log into your help portal, now HEF portal, there's always that part of profile where you can always update. I understand that once you update, it doesn't really change. But now that is when now we have the appeals process, which can be done whether you're in first year, second year, third year. Now the challenge with the first lot, we had, I think the appeals that were made were 11,000, and out of 11,000, only 46 to 48% were considered, which was quite unfortunate. Now this time around, there were 66,000 appeals, if I'm not wrong, and also something to note is that we also have people in Band 1 who actually appeal, because like I gave the example of Eric and I, that the 30,000 may not be affordable for the two of us. So I think the only issue that the issue that we have with the new funding model is lack of information. Students do not know that they can go ahead and appeal, because once you appeal, you introduce new information, and it has some questions, whether your parent lost their job, your parent died, for instance, you are a single parent, like I mentioned, you have to give a single parenthood document that is signed, for instance. So once you introduce that information, HELB is supposed to reconsider and place you in a different band. Also to mention is that when you talk about the DUC and how it was not working, myself, I'm in TUC. 50 days we have not been in school. I'm still in 4.1. My friends in KU, they're almost finishing their 4.2. And up to the last time the DUC was implemented, universities were getting 32% of their allocation as opposed to the 80%. So the narrative that was used was that was not being sustainable for universities. I think what you would understand, because this is part of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, which I'm not pro to. I was just in the committee to make a difference, which I believe I have. So when I'm trying to explain, I'm just giving a point of view from what I have seen. And you will see that even with SHE and SHA, remember everyone was paying 500 and now we have people paying 300. So basically, this was perceived to be student-centered. Before, we will give everyone 80%, regardless of whether they went to Alliance, they went to whatever Loreto school, but now this one, they want to do a personal assessment on you. How much can you afford to pay for that? And actually what you'll notice, the amount of money government is putting into the new funding model is even more than what they used to put in the DUC.
The question I'd like to ask, and I know even Mariam has many, but I'm just throwing this one out there as a point of thought. If the DUC was government not being able to meet its end of the bargain, 80%, you end up giving, I think the highest was 60%, and then it went as low as 37%. Now, with the new model, it doesn't matter whether it's 50%, whatever. Are we sure that the government is going to be able to meet its end of the bargain? And the second bit is the delays that you're experiencing in the disbursement of help that's affecting your daily subsistence is a delay because the government is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Sending money to help, so money from help comes to you.
No, that is not the case. The case was the court nullified disbursement of funds. So technically, if the court has nullified something, it cannot disburse. So that is where that is why the vice chancellors were instructed for each and every student in second year. I can even prove for my university, even if we didn't sit for the exams, because our issue is quite unique, that each and every one of you, and you have mentioned Oprah, that you are able to sit for your exams, because the issue is not you. Also, the issue, HELB confirmed that they had the money, but they couldn't disburse it because of the court ruling.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to talk. She's going to just get back. But also, there's still the question of, will the government meet its end of the bargain? Even not the HELB side, leave alone that. But let her. Okay, you want to give the mic? No, say what you wanted to say. Yes, and then we'll have the mic come.
Okay, on the same note, you've talked of appeals, right? So, for example, my brother there was saying maybe we should have this formal conversation with these people, or maybe the both thing. So, during the beginning of this semester, there was this form that was rolled out. Maybe if you want an increment in your funds or any other thing, any adjustments made, if you're comfortable with the one you're in or not. So the forms were out and people filled it and we submitted. But then when the disbursement thing came about, when the help was to be released now, it came the same way it was. Actually, if you're so keen, maybe you'll realize that maybe the amount has reduced. Let me talk of the upkeep, because for the help, we're told that there is this tuition fee and the upkeep fee. It is the same amount that is being divided into two, right? So the one that goes to the tuition fee goes directly, and then the upkeep comes to the student's account. So if you realize your upkeep, if you're so keen, utapata imerudi chini. It's not the same amount that you used to receive. Yet you filled that form and then you submitted and nothing was done about it. So how about that?
The thing is, help disbursed money with DUC. Remember, the court has still suspended the new funding model. So, for example, if you ought to have received 60,000, they disburse the money according to the previous funding model. I don't know if you understand. Also, the appeals, the 66,000 appeals have not been handled. Why? Because the court ruling suspended the new funding model. Yeah.
I have a point on that. I really respect the HELB institution for actually following the court order. But why are the universities not following the court order? Because they are billing students based on the new funding model. That is something that should be looked into. Yes.
So the fee structure is...
It is similar to the new funding model. Yes, that is a disparity. There is a disparity there.
Using the old funding model.
But your fee structure is using the new funding model. Okay.
And actually,
you have a question.
Oh, I have a question. The 2024 cohorts, you said there were 11,000 appeals. Then the 2025 cohorts,
times 6.
They were 66,000. So we see an increment in appeals. And from the first time the new funding model was implemented, there are more complaints. So what are they doing to reduce on the complaints and reduce on the appeals, so that people can have better education? Because if they improve, they will have less appeals and people will reduce complaints because the system will be better. So what are they planning to do? Because why have they not done anything since the first complaints?
A quick response on that. One, we must know that one of the reasons that the appeals increased was that the government embarked on an information campaign to tell people that you can actually appeal. So know that in the first cohort in Kaembas and the other cohort, that people were not there who had issues. They were there, but they did not know that they could appeal. So a big factor that contributed to the increment in number of people who are appealing was the fact that people knew that there was the option of appealing, not that the system got even more issues. What the government is doing, I am not best placed to answer that because unfortunately we've not brought with us an NFM official or these HELB officials. I think in the next conversation we should bring experts because the people who are here, we were just selected in that committee because we were really fighting against the new funding model. So we were taken there to see how actually things work. So we could get somebody during the next Fixing the Nation conversation. We could get experts who can actually answer such questions.
Yeah, another question to you guys on the committee.
We will have duty bearers, people from HELB, from CUSPs, from the ministry, and we'll ask them all these questions. But continue.
Yeah, a question to those guys who are in that committee. Has it ever crossed your minds that, guys, whatever we are here trying to fix is actually not right? Is it okay when you feel that your parent is working so hard to pay more money? Does it feel okay when you are being judged? Maybe you are faking your lifestyle out there. Maybe some of them, they are like, they've inherited, they don't have that money. Does it feel fair that you work so hard so that you can pay more? Is it something fair?
I think it's also a very philosophical question. Should university education just be free?
Yeah, is it possible?
It is. I think it is quite possible.
It's not possible.
Why is it not
It's
possible?
not possible. You know, guys. Just chill.
Before you answer that, Ruth, does the government have enough money?
Can I answer
That's the first
that? Can I
question.
answer that? Okay.
The second question is, do we have misplaced priorities?
That is true. Like I said, I started
And
by
then
saying.
on top of that,
sorry.
also ask them, why do they have to go to maybe to somewhere to have a retreat when they have offices in parliament? Hiyo pesa ikiwekwa kwa masomo itakuwa mbaya.
Personally,
They say that you are the future of this country, so they have to prioritize our education first.
Okay, the thing is, like I said, me, I'm not pro Kenya Kwanza or UDA. The reason as to why I would say it is quite impossible is even the first world countries, higher education is not free. Okay, the thing is, I know the government has misplaced priority. A lot of them, that is a whole different conversation. But now, I remember there's someone who asked, I think before we could go that, the first question you asked was about someone can be faking their lifestyle. That is why you give your ID number, and that is why you give your KRA PIN. Once you give your KRA PIN, it gives everything about you. Remember all these things that we do at data collection points. There was actually a suggestion to have people, to have help scan through your M-Pesa, which is going to be something on another level. The only challenge that there has been is getting a mechanism to actually look at people in the informal sector, people who do not have a pay slip. Because technically, there's no other way. You see, if all of us were to be assessed, if you're told to pay 50,000 and me I'm told to pay 100,000, if I know I can be able to put up my skills, and that is why I will not encourage us to have a human interference unless there's an appeal there's an appeal that has been made, is that if I'm able to put up a show and say that indeed me I'm the poorest of the poorest, of course no one wants to pay more, everyone wants to pay less. That is why if you look at the means testing instrument, everything that you feel, all the information is meant to best place you in your particular band. The challenge that also we didn't mention is that money is never enough. I think education, they're always appealing. They ask for, I don't know how many billions they asked, and they got like 70%. So what option do they have? They can't place everyone in band one, unfortunately, which is quite unfortunate also. They have to distribute people. So probably you are supposed to be in band 2, but you've been placed in band 3 because probably the funds were not enough, because you have affirmative action courses, like for example agriculture. If you're a person with disability, you're placed in band 1. If you're an orphan, so those are the people they prioritize. Yeah, but I wouldn't encourage human interference. And also, did I mention that when you are applying, if you were sponsored, for instance, because the reason as to why they look at the high school you went to, the perception is that if you are able to raise 56,000 for maybe, for example, Alliance High School, then you'll be able to afford a certain amount in university. So if you are sponsored, you can be able to provide that as an attachment. If, for example, it is not a sponsor, your relative sponsored you or someone, the head teacher can actually write a letter. And once you attach it, you'll be able to be considered for a higher band.
You guys.
Let me ask a question.
Just a minute.
A question.
I think
Let me ask a question.
we can pull the cameras to this side.
Unataka democracy. Democratize.
The assumption, and from where I sit here, and from where majority of these comrades are sitting, you see, it's okay to disagree with this funding model. So in as much as we'd like to interrogate what is working and what is not working, someone is allowed the latitude to oppose completely. Because it's because of reasons like that you have Gishangi Gitonga sitting in that committee because he disagreed with everything. So today I'm going to be Gishangi Gitonga Kidongo. Now, this new funding model that we are talking about here, we must understand 3 things. From where we are sitting right now, the ground we are on, it is unconstitutional. So it doesn't matter what we discuss right now, we are discussing things that are unconstitutional. Point number 2, the new funding model as it stands, it's not working. Let's tell her, blank, it's not working. And point number 3, no comrade should be put through the torture of understanding means testing instrument. The only connection with comrade and means testing instrument is this. I applied, I was put in the correct band. I don't need to know what is happening behind the bars. But right now, comrades have now
converted themselves into MTI experts. They can even tell you for leaders that they need testing instrument. Now, in rolling out new policies, all right, there is a template that is there universally. It's called principle, technicalities, and then feedback. So when you want to introduce something new to replace something that is existing, you must introduce the principal aspect of it. Once the principal aspect of it has been bought by the society, then you now address what are the technical issues that might arise because of your implementation. And once you have addressed those ones, then you now get feedback from the society or from the sample size that you're dealing with, and then now you interrogate it based on what you're doing. In principle-wise, I can sit here. I was the former president of Riara University, a private institution, and I can sit okay as if I understand, and I love this new funding model. And a student asked me a question. I have not had any response up to this. They asked me this way. And I think somebody talked about it here right now. And he said it's philosophical. It's not philosophical, it's common sense. Why is it that the people who are paying the highest amount of taxes are the people who are benefiting the least from the same project? Remember, when you pay taxes, it is a social construct. You expect government to hold up some ends on your end. It simply means I pay tax, but I have to enjoy social goods. Social goods are infrastructure, education, and health. So when you are paying the highest amount of taxes, and then when it comes to enjoying education, you're told now, because wewe uko na pesa, the same you have now to be put in the highest education bands. So from the principal aspect, it is not sound, because the people who pay the most amount of taxes should at least be put in the first line to enjoy the fruits of their taxes. But now they are told you have to pay. Now point number 2, means testing instrument, you mean memaliza. The only connection between Comrade and MTI should be I applied, I was placed in the right band. How it works, what you need, that is beyond the common mind of a comrade. So as long as comrade is not able to get placed in the right band, then the MTI can go to the other place that is not heaven. Number 2,
we're 5 minutes to wind up.
Yeah,
You've said the overall. The overall picture is home.
Yes.
And as for the point is home.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the loans. Let me prosecute the loans because no one has prosecuted the loans here. 25% of the most needy people who are receiving these loans, they are expected to pay them back at a 4% interest. All right? The worst thing you can ever do to a person is give somebody a loan that you are sure that this person has no means of ever getting that loan paid. So if the government is pushing people towards loan to the extent of 60% of 1 million per course right now, it should have a mechanism of making sure that all the products that it is pushing out of universities are absorbed in the market so that they can be able to pay back the loans that they afforded them. Otherwise, anything short of that is putting people into traps that they are never going to get out of from. So if government wants this system to work, fix the principle. Make sure the means testing instrument is working. Give job creation and job opportunities for youth.
Mariam. As we wind up, we've got like 2 minutes to wind up.
No, basically my question was, as we move forward, what would be the thing that would make this work for you? That's all.
The one thing.
Just one. Aya. And in 1 minute, actually, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm saying
30 seconds.
These problems has been brought up by the government. So, for instance, if the government
for instance?
30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
You have 20 now.
What's your fix?
If the government could have paid this amount of money, which they list, actually they told us that they're going to pay, as we speak now, we could be talking about another story. The reason is they told us, but they have not paid.
All right.
The only thing we can do to fix this is, number 1, fix our priorities as a country. Number 2, the government, fix your priority. We cannot have a PS spending 300 million on travel. We cannot have a president donating 20 million to churches every Sunday. We can't have taxes being misappropriated. We can't have 7 billion being allocated to parliament when education is suffering. That's unacceptable. And in fact, we might be back to the streets very soon.
That's a fix. A fix from the ladies.
Back to
30 seconds only. Got one here, 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds and we wrap up.
I believe that the government can solve this issue. It's a matter of priority, as he has said. Let the government prioritize education because it is very essential for every person in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
The government says we are the future of tomorrow. If we are the future of tomorrow, they should care about us and they should prioritize us, also our education. Yeah.
Reject the new funding model, basically. Tufanya tu hivyo.
What I can say, mimi naambia Mr. President, it's too early, ameanza campaigns. He should stop that one. Campaigns tutafanya baadaye.
The universities can work. There are solutions to do with endowment funds. There are solutions that can actually work as long as they are thought about comprehensively and for the long run.
Okay, everything can work. CS Mbadi do say that 2 billion is lost per day. Why can't we consolidate that fund and then direct it to education? 2 billion is 60 billion in a month, isn't it? Yes, that's the only way.
Doctrine of public participation should be implemented.
Doctrine of public participation.
Okay, as we say, also the free education can work in the universities. It's not only meant for specific level of education. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, guys. And to your point, I don't think young people are the future. We are the present. There's no future unless we do something. Cindy, thank you so much. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for being so engaging and for being switched on. You've done your part, right? Someone else needs to do their part. And we'll continue pushing for that to happen. And like we said, when we have people from the Ministry of Education, from the funding model, from HELP, we'll hold them accountable using these things that you've said right here. But we have to wrap up the show now. Have an amazing weekend ahead from myself and from Latif. I'll see you.
Kabisa.
Power!